Our planet stands at a crucial factor wherein each X degree in temperature can reshape lifestyles on Earth. The frozen poles, as once symbols of balance and purity, at the moment are displaying alarming symptoms and symptoms of transformation. Beneath their icy floor lies the electricity to regulate coastlines, climates, and whole ecosystems. Scientists warn that even a mild acceleration on this melting ought to cause a series response affecting hundreds of thousands of lives. Imagine the world's response if the ice on the poles have been to soften rapidly. To start with, the speedy melting of polar ice might reason a dramatic upward push in worldwide sea levels. Coastal towns, which includes New York, Mumbai, and Amsterdam, ought to face extreme flooding inside decades. Millions of human beings may lose their houses and livelihoods because of submerging land. Furthermore, because the ice melts, enormous quantities of fresh water might circulate the oceans, disrupting their herbal salinity. This surprising imbalance ought to weaken ocean currents, just like the Gulf Stream, which regulates worldwide temperatures. The end result is probably extreme climate in areas that have been once solid. Consequently, some regions ought to freeze at the same time while others face insufferable warmness. In addition, melting polar areas might disclose historic natural count number trapped in ice for millennia. When this fabric decomposes, it releases carbon dioxide and methane, effective greenhouse gases. These emissions might boost up worldwide warming even further, creating a vicious cycle. Scientists discuss with this because the comments loop of weather extrade. Moreover, polar ice acts as a large reflect that displays daylight far from the Earth. When it melts, darker ocean water absorbs greater warmth instead. This process, called the albedo effect, quickens the planet's warming rate. As a result, even more ice starts to soften, amplifying the trouble exponentially. Beyond environmental damage, the lack of sea ice might also affect worldwide food chains. Fish populations rely on cold, nutrient-rich waters close to the poles. As temperatures upward, those ecosystems ought to collapse, decreasing the supply of seafood worldwide. This might threaten the food security of hundreds of thousands, especially in coastal communities. Additionally, the Arctic and Antarctic function herbal habitats for distinct natural wildlife like polar bears, seals, and penguins. Their survival relies completely on solid ice structures for looking and breeding. As the ice disappears, those species might warfare to conform or migrate. Many ought to face extinction, marking an irreversible loss in biodiversity. Likewise, indigenous peoples who live close to the Arctic areas might face large cultural and economic challenges. Their traditional livelihood relies on the frozen landscape and its natural wildlife. Melting ice might disrupt their hunting routes and agreement patterns. On a global scale, new transport routes ought to become obvious when the Arctic Ocean becomes ice-free. Although this may seem economically beneficial, it includes hidden dangers. Increased traffic could lead to oil spills, pollution, and geopolitical tensions over newly accessed resources. Furthermore, scientists are concerned about historic viruses and bacteria trapped in the ice. As glaciers melt, these pathogens will be released into the environment after being dormant for hundreds of years. Humanity may face unknown illnesses for which we have no immunity or cure. This hazard adds a chilling new dimension to the melting crisis. At the same time, the lack of polar ice might affect worldwide climate systems in unpredictable ways. Jet streams may want to shift, changing rainfall patterns and causing extended droughts or floods. Agricultural zones may move, forcing farmers to adapt to totally new climates. Consequently, food production and prices may vary drastically. Moreover, as permafrost melts, infrastructure in northern areas might collapse. Buildings, pipelines, and roads constructed on once frozen floor are already starting to crack and sink. The cost of repairing or rebuilding such systems might reach trillions of dollars. This economic pressure might ripple across worldwide markets. Despite these alarming outcomes, the situation isn't totally hopeless. Advances in renewable energy, carbon capture, and sustainable technology offer viable solutions. International cooperation through agreements just like the Paris Accord remains vital. If countries act collectively, we can still slow the pace of polar melting. Ultimately, the future of the polar ice is deeply tied to the picks humanity makes today. Each effort to reduce emissions and protect the environment matters. The poles aren't distant, isolated areas, they're the core of Earth's climate system. Therefore, the question remains not just what if the ice on the poles melted rapidly, but also what will we do to prevent it?
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. We truly appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.